What's up, guys, and welcome to another Hungover podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Julien.
And I'm Ivan over here. And Julien, I think we have a special guest you'd like to introduce today.
Yes, a very special guest. We are joined today by NetherRealm's own Mike Perilla.
Hi, guys.
Welcome
Thanks for letting me out of the podcast.
Woo!
Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We got in contact through our mutual contact at Rebreak Radio, which
Dennis.
we have yet to join their podcast, which we want to in the future. But they got in contact with Kinda Funny, actually, and sort of sent out a plea to all small YouTubers and the like, and small podcasters to, sort of unite and sort of help their channels grow together. So that's how we got in contact, and so you can get this podcast every single week on Mondays on iTunes and SoundCloud, and in video form on YouTube. That's pretty awesome. You can also, Jesus Christ, you're always so quiet, Ivan.
We do this podcast once a week. It's as if you have no idea how to do it.
It goes off the rail. Yeah, I'm super a little thrown off here. We usually never have a guest, so I don't know what to say. Anyways, you can also write an iTunes review for us. That really helps with our visibility.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do that.
Now-
I'll do that for you guys.
Yeah, well, if you want to, you can. You should review specifically the episode you're on.
Yes.
That'd be great.
And I'll do that.
You know what? We start this podcast out every single week by asking each other, what media have you been consuming, whether it be books, movies, video games, music, etc., and what did you drink last night? I think we should start with our guests because, guests first.
I
Right?
agree, Julien.
Sure,
I'm contributing
agree.
too.
Yeah, you can just stay silent the whole time. It's fine.
Yeah, so not drinking last night, drinking currently. In my fridge, I had some leftover
That's
Bud Lights,
awesome.
so I'm having
Hell
one
yeah.
right now. I was thinking about making a cocktail, but I decided, I'll go with the beer. I don't want to be too, nose uppity. Although, Colin Moriarty.
Oh, we're
is
nose
very
uppity on this channel. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Well, I was thinking about making it old fashioned just as a call out to,
Nice.
Colin, but I decided to stick with the beer because lower threshold of, having to make it. But in terms of
Fewer
media for this
calories,
week, gaming wise, basically doing a lot of Elder Scrolls Legends just because it's really quick, and I play it at work a lot when I'm on my lunch break just because it's fun.
Nice.
Doing a lot of PUBG when I get home at night, Rocket League.
Oh, shit.
We should play some PUBG together, Mike.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Well, so
I've got the strats. I'm teaching Julien how to be a better gamer.
do you
Yeah,
guys do you guys do PUBG on PC or Xbox or?
PC.
On PC.
Okay,
yeah.
good. We're
not
curious
the worst
here.
kind of people.
So we are PCMR in this area. That's good to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all got the PCs.
All right. Yeah. Not that I have
newly
anything
adopted.
Okay. Not that I have anything against the Xbox. I have an Xbox One, and I can go through my game catalog. I have plenty of different. I have a good console lineage, including the Sega
Great.
Genesis. I used to play the shit out of that when I was younger.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I'm almost exclusively on PC now. But yeah, I'd love to join you guys on PUBG.
Great. We'll have to send you a friend request on Steam later.
Yeah.
And how about you, Ivan? Did you get into any gaming this weekend?
That's an excellent.
Drink anything?
That's an excellent question to ask. So this weekend, wait. This is after that. So this weekend I
This
got
is
into
the
some
31st.
physical gaming. I played
Nice.
some dope laser tag. Did we go over that?
Cool.
No, not in the
So
last
this was
podcast we
super
did, I think.
tactical laser tag. It was like military grade IR sensors on rifles that had scopes on them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In a warehouse, and instead of wearing the vests or whatever, they had 3 lights that were on your head and one
Oh my
on the
God.
gun. And these people usually they used to do a mobile laser tag thing, so they would go and travel around during the war months and set up in like people's backyards. Then they finally opened up a warehouse. It's called Warehouse 51 in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. It's a cool place. Check it out. And
Cool.
they have a Call of Duty style game where if you're playing free-for-all, it's basically run and gun. And I got 37 kills and I died once because I ran out of ammo.
How long was that
That's so-
match?
It was 8 minutes.
37 kills in 8
my
minutes.
God.
Wow, that is impressive.
That is very impressive.
Thank you. I launched a
Mowing
nuke
people down,
almost
dude.
twice.
You can launch a nuke.
Yeah,
in
they
that
have
game?
nukes in that game. It's
Modern
awesome.
Warfare
You have
2
kill
style.
streaks.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah, they
sick.
have nukes, they have mortars, they have airstrikes, and then they have like rail guns and other things. So I basically killed
Does it
enough
have the
people to get
AC-130.
armor, and then I killed everybody, and it was great. Anyway,
Oh my
enough
God.
about how great I am. That's just one of the things I do. I also checked out The Shape of Water, which was
Guillermo
pretty-
del Toro's movie, right?
yeah. That's
Yeah.
it's Guillermo del Toro, co-written with Vanessa Taylor. It's a really great movie. I highly recommend it. It's one of those movies where the setting and the production design and the set is all done in a way that gives it an atmosphere, and the production and the set is almost like a different character. It helps character development so much in that movie, and just accessing a world that is difficult to believe because there's this bog monster, but super intriguing because everything in that world feels like you could touch it or taste it or see it. It's definitely well worth checking out. I think it should get some looks in terms of the Oscars, in terms of looking at the score
really?
was really great. I think the score is
Wow.
one of the best of the year. The production definitely needs it, and like production and costuming, all of that needs to be recognized for this movie because it was amazing. The performances were good too, but I really just loved diving into that world. It's why I loved like the new Mad Max and different movies like that, because it's a sci-fi movie that you really feel like you can touch. So
Wow.
yeah, that was it.
That's awesome.
And I had my standard, Ruski standard.
Yeah, I heard on the last podcast that you had said that you're a fan of the Moscow Mule. Is that correct?
I am a fan of the Moscow Mule. And
That's-
the Ruski standard is similar, except for instead of ginger beer, it's just seltzer. So it's a vodka
It's a
seltzer.
vodka seltzer
So actually,
with lime.
Cool story about the Moscow Mule. So the Moscow Mule, I think, was originally introduced to the U.S. in like L.A. and Chicago, but made famous in Chicago. And actually, my good friend Seamus O'Malley, shout out to Irish Hooligan. His grandfather introduced it to the Chicago Police Department. So a lot of that had to come from his grandfather. So if it wasn't for him,
That's crazy.
or, his grandpa, Moscow Mules probably wouldn't be as popular as they are today. But I think that's more hearsay. I cannot corroborate this. These are just stories that have been passed on to me, but I thought that was really cool. So kind of had a bit
know
of
what,
like
Mike?
fuck yeah.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Exactly.
Yeah, just make up shit. I mean, hey, look who's president now, right? Truth does not get
my
involved.
God. State of the Union.
Ooh.
State of the
Whoa, let's not talk about that. We're not going down that road.
I didn't even watch
Maybe
it. I'm
that's
not even,
another podcast.
Not even dealing with it.
That is another podcast. Well, for me, I had a pretty crazy weekend, guys. Let me tell you. We're recording this on the 31st, of course, so that's a Wednesday. But we're all talking about our weekends. 3 games came out this week that I was super into. One of which I did not think I didn't even know about until last week. But 2 games I was really anticipating: Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball FighterZ. So, I mean, everyone knows on the channel I like fighting games. So, but maybe you didn't know that I'm a really big weeb. So I love anime. So of course I had to pick up Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is this 2D fighting game made by Arc System Works, and they make all the anime fighters like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear. So they have crazy combos that you can pull off, and as a Dragon Ball Z game, I think this might be the best looking Dragon Ball Z game ever made. It looks so much like the anime. And all the animations are so fluid, and you can like teleport or move very quickly. I don't know exactly what they're doing in the show. Are they actually, except for Goku, who uses instant transmission, are they actually teleporting?
They're just moving so fast.
They're just moving so fast you can't see
that
it, right?
that you can't draw those frames because it would cost a lot more money.
Yes. Funny thing, the show actually aired is is filmed, I guess animated is the word, at 24 frames per second.
Yeah, I was just about to say that
um,
that was a cool feature
oh,
of the
sorry.
game.
Yeah, and all the cutscenes are at 24 frames a second in the game, but obviously the game runs at 60 when you're fighting, which is typical for most games nowadays. And then I also picked up Monster Hunter World, which I've never played a Monster Hunter game. This is the one everyone's touting that this is the one to get into, so of course I had to get into it. I just couldn't resist. It's actually a lot of fun. I know Ivan and I played the beta, and Ivan was not into the beta. Just not his gameplay, not his game.
No.
Fine, whatever. It's a very convoluted RPG that has a very simple gameplay loop. You basically going out on a hunt to hunt down a monster, a gigantic monster. There are so many different types of monsters. I can't even, and they're super weird. It's a Japanese. It's made by Capcom actually, so, whatever that means.
So which one has tentacles?
Which one has tentacles? I don't know. I have not found a tentacle monster
everyone
yet.
else wants to know.
There is a weird flying monster that pukes up poison.
I was fighting that one in the
know.
beta, and none of you came to help me, even though that was the target.
Oh, shit.
Hey, check it out in last week's Let's Play. You'll
Yes,
see I was fighting the right thing due to the description, and Julian and everybody else were just fighting the first thing that looks strong.
Excellent
Exactly,
cross-promotional
that's
plug
what we
there.
did.
Really, really seamless.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
I'm a 1-year vet at this.
Hey,
Oh
good for
my
you. Good for
God.
you.
Anyways, it's the gameplay loop is you go kill a monster, you loot it, then you bring it back and you upgrade all your stuff. And that's how it works. So that's a pretty simple gameplay loop, and a lot of people get really addicted to that. And I can see myself falling down a very deep rabbit hole with this game.
You do play Destiny 2.
I did play Destiny 2. All right, I don't need to talk about that right now.
I've not
we'll
played
get
that
into
since launch week.
Yeah, it's rough. Look, Ivan's getting into it. I'm really happy. I want to do the raid.
I just
with
want
him.
to do the raid.
Yeah, he just wants to do the raid, and I really want to help that. I got to 335 light. Whatever. That's not. I'm trying to talk about another game, all right, guys? It's a game called Celeste. It's an indie game.
Yeah.
I
about
assume
that.
you've heard about it, Mike.
Oh, of course.
Ivan, you might not have heard this one. Heard
No.
about this one. It's a 2D side-scrolling game, basically. And it's really it has very simple controls. You jump and you can do a midair dash once before landing. If you land again, then you can dash. It recharges your midair dash. So you basically have a double jump. And it's incredibly difficult. So I guess you played Super Meat Boy, right, Ivan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's that level of difficulty. And the gameplay loop is basically you're going to be throwing everything you have at it to try to get through the level, which is each level is you could sort of think of it, each level is just the screen. So there's basically a huge maze that you have to get through in terms of platforming, and it's all very difficult. But as soon as you die, you're just instantly back at the spawn point of the map. So you can just keep trying over and over very quickly. And so that sort of gets, I love Dark Souls, so I love difficult games. So
It
that
looks
sort
like
of gets
Super Meat Boy crossed with the aesthetic of Towerfall Ascension.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Towerfall Ascension Company made this game.
Oh.
Yeah,
They've
so
really worked on their graphics.
well, I mean, it's their graphics engine that they're using, I'm assuming. And it's a really great platforming one, but it also has this really cool story that's sort of subtly told in some of the cutscenes, and you meet all these interesting characters, and it's sort of subtly about depression and overcoming that and dealing with that in some ways. And it's also basically you play as this girl who's not named Celeste. Actually, the mountain is named Celeste that you're trying to climb.
Twist.
And basically, yeah, it is the twist of the game. The mountain is Celeste. So I highly suggest anyone who likes platformers out there to pick that game up. That game, it got a 10 out of 10 on IGN. I think it's definitely my game of the year so far. I know it's only January, but I guess this episode's coming out in February. But it's definitely the game I've become. I'm just super into it from the beginning.
What
I
are
really
you playing
like that
on?
game. I'm playing it on the Switch actually, which sort of aids its self because I live in New York City, so I'm always on the train. So I really like the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
I play this game for like an hour every day, and I played. Let's see. Today I spent like an hour trying to beat one level, and I beat it. So it made my train ride worth.
Was it the
was
same
really
level that Greg was talking about today on Kind of Funny Games Daily about having died 400 times on? It's like the office level or something?
Me? Oh, no, not the office level. Oh,
Is it the office? I don't.
Was
I
it
haven't.
a hotel or the
Yeah,
office?
hotel. That's it. Yeah, I haven't.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
it was
played
that.
Celeste at all. I plan on playing it. It's just I'm waiting. It might be on sale for the Lunar New Year sale that's going to be happening.
Yeah,
but-
right.
So I'm waiting and holding off, hoping that that'll be the case. But actually, one thing that kind of coincides really well with Celeste, and I heard people talking about it that has to do with depression and all that. Today is actually a hashtag campaign, Bell Let's Talk, which is about mental, like people that are having issues with being depressed, being suicidal, whatever, and kind of a big thing for, I don't know if you guys follow hockey, but the Chicago Blackhawks, my hometown team, the equipment manager several years ago, his name was Clint Reef, ended up committing suicide, so there was an entire thing with the Blackhawks organization trying to promote it, so good on Bell Center and the Canadian news media for having that hashtag trending, and I was thinking, and I heard them say, for every single hashtag for, I think it's hashtag Bell Let's Talk, for every person that used that hashtag, 5 cents will be donated to funds to help people with any sort of issues with depression or those kind of things. So
Wow, that's a good fundraising campaign. That's awesome.
yeah, so kind of cool
Okay.
that it kind of lined up with Celeste in a way that wasn't even planned, but things happen like that.
Yeah, well, Celeste may be on sale. There's a Lunar New Year sale coming up on Steam.
Allegedly.
I think on the allegedly.
It
right.
leaks, but
People-
Steam leaks constantly. It's just a
So that
sinking ship in some
yeah.
regards.
It should run from the 15th to the 17th, I think. So
Yeah.
that's Friday to Sunday.
They did it 2 years ago,
so
but
go
they
check that
didn't
out.
do it last year. But so we're hoping we'll get some sales. So anybody that missed out
Please,
on
God.
please, Gaben, give us the sales.
Exactly.
I did miss out on Rainbow Six Siege for $8, so I was a little disappointed.
Well,
It might-
good luck getting it.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard the recent news with Rainbow Six Siege and how they're
Yeah.
changing everything.
Yeah.
That was actually shameless plug. Topic of in my last podcast, episode 2 of Ready's Player One's podcast.
Right.
So
Shameless plug. We will get to that in a bit. I just wanted to talk a little bit more.
Oh my God! Is there room for anyone else on this podcast?
No.
Mike
This
started to talk
podcast
about
is
his
about
things,
me,
and you
all
were
right?
like five seconds through. Mike listed through them. You didn't even ask him questions. I didn't know what Elder
I'm
Scroll
sorry.
Legends
Hey,
we're
was.
not talking about
and now
that
we're
yet.
Just
We-
doing Celeste
All right,
for
fuck it.
20
your
minutes.
podcast. This is your house, guys. I'm not gonna step
I'm
on any
kidding.
toes.
I just wanted to say I had a lot of cider this weekend
Oh,
because
good
I went
stuff.
to
What kind of? Here,
I
better
went
question.
to a cider bar.
What kind of cider? This is the real question.
A lot of different ciders. So there's
Any
there's a new
preference?
cider bar. I had this. There was a cider that was aged in cognac barrels. It was
Ooh.
pretty good. So there's this new cider bar that opened up in Brooklyn, of all the places. That has to be hip. So clearly in Brooklyn.
I have a bias against
think-
Brooklyn.
I have a bias against Brooklyn, and I live in Brooklyn.
Well, my
Now,
family's
it's-
from New
it's-
York, so I have biases.
Yes, they're awesome. I didn't know that. Well, anyways, look, this place is super new, and only the hip people are allowed in. So, good luck getting
So
in.
you snuck in through
Yvonne.
the back door.
No, yeah, clearly. No, it's
Got 'em,
like
bruh.
super nice and renovated.
Got him.
And so I had this. There was a maple cider, and I wasn't sure if cider had to be made from apples. Does it have to be made from
I
apples?
think
Not
you can
necessarily.
Make a pear cider.
Yeah, I was just about to say
You
pear
can make
cider.
a
Yeah.
pear cider. Okay. All right. Well, I had a raspberry cider, which was pretty good.
What did you
and
pair
I like
with
this
it?
cognac. So, all right. Well, let's just move on to the topic of the show. Then we're done with the puns.
And with
it's
that
over.
dad joke.
Yeah. So I figured we'd start with you, Mike. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and your podcast, Ready's Player One, right?
Sure. Do you want the short or the long answer?
Well,
Yes.
whichever one you. Yes, I would. I want the long answer. I listened to the most recent one. It was really cool. You're one manning it by yourself.
I am one man.
I was really impressed. It was awesome. I would not have the balls to do a one man podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
clearly I just let Yvonne talk the whole time. So
Yeah. Well,
I've basically done a one man on this podcast.
It was kind of intimidating to start it, but essentially it came out of the fact that me and a few friends got together, and we're in different time zones. So we were initially trying to do a podcast called The Fifth Draft, where all of us would drink during the podcast, and there were
Nice.
5 of us, but we couldn't really line up the schedules.
That as a premise.
Yeah, you guys, very similar vein. But we talk about all
Yes.
kinds of things, very similar to the Game Over Greggy show. Not necessarily gaming, but just topics.
That's
so
cool.
we were doing that for a while. We did 2 unreleased pilots, and we were going to go about doing that. And then that was about 3.5 months ago. Didn't get off the ground because everybody was really busy with work and whatever. So I really wanted to start podcasting and doing stuff. And I was like, if I can't rely on anybody to stick with my schedule, because I want to be able to say from a producer standpoint, like, okay, every Sunday we record, every Monday we release, and then add on complexity. No one else could do it with me, so I'm like, hey, I'll just do it by myself. So I launched
Nice.
Ready's Player One as a pun off of Ready Player One and the fact that my Twitter handle and branding across everything is Ready Edgemont. So I was like, oh, that'd be funny.
Right.
So I just started Ready's Player One. So I've done 2 episodes so far, and hoping that I could keep up with it.
No, it's short and sweet. The first 2 episodes, they're like straight to the point. This is the news that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I definitely learned a lot listening. You pulled from a lot of sources. So
Yeah.
that was really useful.
Yeah. So I'm trying to eventually turn it into longer, like long piece conversations, and maybe eventually pull people in to like talk about specific topics. So, kind of going back to what Rebreak Radio is doing with his Discord. If there's somebody who's like a specialist on Nintendo or PlayStation, if there's a specific news story that's relevant to PC gaming from one of those angles, I might bring somebody in. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. It's just going to kind of evolve as I see needs and things I want to talk about. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, cool. I hope more people hear about you, because it was definitely an awesome podcast. I'm
Thank you.
glad someone's doing it. Come on. So and then you work at NetherRealm Studios as well, right?
Yes, I do.
So famous for Mortal Kombat and now more recently Injustice and Injustice 2. But you did not work on those.
I didn't work on them for release, but I currently work on. So I'm in the mobile department, so I work on Injustice and Injustice 2, WWE Immortals, and Mortal Kombat 10, all at the same time
That's sick.
on iOS and
Wow.
Android. So I do
Boom.
lots of work.
Take that.
All right. Well, how is working on mobile games? I assume you've worked on other types of games as well. Maybe.
Yes,
Maybe not.
yes. So I did game
Yeah.
development in college.
Right.
I never really played mobile games before I started working for NetherRealm, and I didn't actually play a lot of fighting games until I started working at NetherRealm. And I mean, I had played Mortal Kombat and I had known about it, but yeah, in terms of game development, ACM Game Builders at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, shout out. We have a pretty good alumni program, including people that now work at Bungie, EA,
What?
a couple different places. So it's a pretty, I don't want to say prestigious
That's
program, but
amazing.
we're trying to grow it more, and I'm still
clearly.
involved. Yeah, so
These are huge gaming studios. That's amazing. Good news.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I figured we could talk a little bit. You're a PC gamer.
I am.
Can I add a question
Yeah,
on that
actually,
subject?
there you go.
Can you talk about what crunch is like?
crunch
Sure. So
Are you allowed to?
Yeah, I could talk about it. I mean, crunch is something that is kind of taboo in the industry. A lot of people like to say crunch is bad. And I mean, to an extent, it's bad because you don't get to spend as much time with people that you care about and people that you love. So it's like really difficult for me and my girlfriend when I'm in crunch, especially in mobile, because like I said, we have 4 different games working on 8 different SKUs. So we have staggered releases for each one of them. So I'm in crunch probably almost every other week, if not every other week, then once every 3 weeks.
Oh
so the most I've ever worked in a week, and I've only been working for 6 months at NetherRealm, but my worst week I worked probably 72 hours, which it's not normal, but it happens. But it's more of the pressure of, you don't, at least for me, it's not that you don't want to work, it's that you don't want to be the person letting everyone down, and everyone else is staying there and working, and you want to be able to. It's a real team effort. So it's not that it's hard on me, it's that I try to do it to make sure that like the work that I'm doing helps the team, and that it's really a team effort. And that's one really cool thing about NetherRealm and our mobile department, is that everybody sticks out for each other, and we're always trying to help each other out and make sure everything is going well. And our producers are excellent. Shout out to Fuzzy Gertis, Ray McCaffrey, and Angelique. Great producers. Don't have very enviable jobs, but yeah, it's tough, but it's like it has to be done. Unfortunately, especially when we have hard deadlines for release.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That I like the fact that it's team building, camaraderie. I expect that when you're doing that kind of work for that amount of period of time, it is intense. I was doing an AmeriCorps program where we were working lightly. My second year in the AmeriCorps program, I worked 60 to 70 hours a week for like about $5-6 an hour, I think is the translation.
Damn, man.
So yeah, that when we work together like that, the team that you build it's solid, just to say the least. So I appreciate that kind of perspective on it, and we can get into the further questions that Julian had about the PC gaming.
I have so many more. No,
fire away.
Look, Well, I guess we should start. Like, what types of games do you like to play? You're primarily a PC gamer, right?
Yep, primarily.
Yeah. So what genres of games do you like? What games are you? Well, you said what games you're playing.
Yeah.
But, solid line of question, Julian.
But well, I mean, maybe you play Elder Scrolls, but do you play any other MMOs?
So I dabble in a lot of different games, and I don't think there's any one genre I don't play. But I tend to gravitate more towards single-player experiences, just because I view games as kind of a release, in a sense that it's kind of a way to shut down and shut off everything else during the day. And sometimes having to talk to other people is a bit burdensome.
It's the worst.
Yeah, so not always. Like, there's a place for playing Rocket League with some friends and getting drunk and doing it. But like I've always enjoyed single player games, and I always enjoy complex games. So one game studio that I really love and follow and play a lot of their games is Paradox. So basically grand strategy games like Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis. Those games are really, really good, and I really enjoy them, and I could do deep dives. I think the most played game I have right now is Crusader Kings 2, which I have over 800 clocked hours in about 2 years. So it's like those are the kind of games I gravitate towards, and then and then basically anything my friends are really getting into or getting hyped on, so like PUBG. I also have a history of playing World of Warcraft and RuneScape in terms of MMOs.
Look at that, a fellow MMO player.
Yeah, I mean, I play them when they're there. It's fun.
I played Guild Wars, actually, back in the day.
I played Guild Wars 2 for a good 4-month stint and lost a lot of time. And not proud to say, but I actually have a catalog of games that have ended relationships for me, and I'm proud to say that I put in plenty of time for those. But those are some rough times.
To be fair, I played mostly Guild Wars in high school, where relationships don't really matter long term.
Yeah.
So I was happy that my MMO days were ended early.
Well, here's the real trick. Get yourself a significant other. So my girlfriend and I, we play games together. So we love gaming together and doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Recently, we just finished playing the Back to the Future Telltale game. So we really enjoy adventure games, so we play
nice.
those together.
Whoa.
So we did that. We've done
Cool.
King's Quest. We've done Tales of the Borderlands. So I'm kind of her guru at this point, giving her games. And then other than that, her and I do a lot of Age of Mythology and Rise of Nations together.
Oh, nice. I like those games.
Really old school games.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Overcooked together?
No, we have not, but that's mainly
That's
because
the
of
real test of a
limitations
relationship.
well, I mean, I actually cook with her, and her and her family is
that's
legitimately
better.
too many cooks in the kitchen sometime, and it gets a little hectic, but it's fun.
Too many cooks.
Yeah, and I'm Italian, so I know how to cook a little bit, kind of.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so.
Julian's half
Yeah.
Italian.
I am. My dad is Italian.
Yeah.
So
I'm
like, I
making
do like to
connections.
I
Yeah,
know
so
we're all connected in some way.
Well, so
That's an
yeah.
impressive lineage of games in terms of the breadth of the genres. So going from RTS to those kinds of point and click adventures, kind of from Tales of the Borderland, things like that. That's a wide spread of games to consider playing.
It's good to be playing a lot of different games, especially in game development, because you could find all kinds of different influences and inspirations from different genres. So like one of the cool things that I remembered was at U of I, one of the companies down there is Deep Silver Volition, so the guys that make the Saints Row franchise. And
nice.
One of their senior producers, Greg Donovan, was telling me that one of the inspirations they used for getting people on board with the vision of a game actually came from a totally different inspiration of. So for anybody out there who is a business major like I was, business canvassing is a big thing for finding, direct to market, like who's your customer base, certain metrics of like, okay, who are your suppliers, who are your buyers, that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, so we took that, we repurposed it, and we use it now for game dev. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's something you might not actually think of. So there's all kinds of cool inspirations wherever you look. So I try to see what games do things well and try to see how I can finagle them into the games I'm working on and see if that's something that might work.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. So you play a lot of PC games, and there are specific genres that sort of work way better with a mouse and keyboard, such as RTSs.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think there are any games that work better on a console, or not specifically a console, but on a gamepad or because you work in game development, so you have to think about these things, right?
Yeah, so always thinking about the user experience and like how you want the end user to react to certain things is crucial to making a game work, because there are certain mechanics that, like you guys were talking about on the last podcast about, with Nintendo doing this entire cardboard thing. Like that's not something you could do if you didn't have those remotes. So you constantly have to think of how people engage and interact with things. But a lot of it has to do with preference. So, like for example, I used to only exclusively play FPS like shooter games on console with like Call of Duty, but ever since I started playing Counter-Strike, I cannot play games with a controller anymore that are first-person shooter, just because there's just so much more complexity in being able to like there's little things that once you realize they're there, there's no way you can go back. But there are certain games that I prefer using a controller for. So using like adventure games, it all depends on your use case. So like if you're looking to come home and just sit on your couch and play a game, nothing beats the controller experience. But if you're looking for more versatility in RTS or strategy games and kind of complexity and like really dynamic user interfaces, sometimes it's easier to have a mouse and keyboard. But
where do you think VR fits into that?
I think VR makes you the controller, and that's one of the cool things. I've actually been super blessed in the fact that I've been to GDC for the last 4 years now. This is going to be my upcoming 5th year, and that's crazy. I've seen VR move so far from the original side of the conference hall demo to now being front and center. So I've seen the evolution of Eve Valkyrie from being this little thing to like, oh, it's a one-person experience, to the last time I was there, they had like 8v8 flight simulators essentially where you were fighting people, and it was really cool. So VR, it's very interesting and a cool proof of concept, but until they can make it widely available to people and a price point that people are willing to do, which the PSVR has done super well, and saying, hey, $199 and you're in. As soon as they can make
If
that
you have a
wider,
PS4.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Right now we know what is it, 74, 75 million people have PlayStation 4s.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of people who have a PS4. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I am an evangelist of VR, and I'm hoping it gets to the masses because like if you haven't tried VR, guys, like anybody listening, please try VR. Just get a setup, go to like a Best Buy or whatever, and schedule a thing just to try it. It's incredible. It really is.
Do you think it will require porn innovation to really be introduced into the home? Because if we really think about it,
legitimate question.
Porn is like DVDs, streaming on the internet. These are all inventions that were pushed into the mainstream by the porn industry.
Well, streaming, you could argue streaming might have been pushed into by the porn industry, but one of the things, and kind of turning it, not to turn it away from porn, because that's a great conversation to have, guys. But the exciting thing about VR is for every single major piece of technology, it has been pushed by something other than games. So when you're looking at the computer, the PC, personal computer, it was pushed by businesses and saying, we can do all these computational tasks much more efficiently, and that's why we're going to need it. VR, I feel like, is going to be pushed by games, because games will be the medium that show this new source of entertainment and this new way of communicating and showing experiences with people can only really be innovated by games. And you're seeing VR being used. So like, for example, my mom's an obstetrician gynecologist, and I was working with her and a few other people on using VR to teach new doctors about how to do certain procedures and giving her advice and telling her who to contact and stuff like that. So it's like there are mass applications, but video games and interactive experiences fall so well in with VR that it's really exciting to see that go. But going back to the porn part, it's kind of funny to see.
Talking about interactive experiences.
Yeah, it's an all active experience there. It's funny to see them embrace VR the way that they have, and I don't necessarily think they're going to be the ones pushing the commodity of it, but I'm always interested to see where VR is also applicable. So one cool thing I saw Sony do, and I know they're still doing it, is they have a theater in Manhattan that one of the things they were talking about doing was for PS Plus members, like once a month or whatever, they would have a concert there, and if you had a PSVR, you can actually watch the concert and then have a digital receipt. So if you ever wanted to go and rewatch that concert, you just put on your PSVR, and it's like you being there. And I'm like, that's such a cool, really novel way of using virtual reality. Like, there's so many applications we haven't even thought of yet. I'm talking way too much. I apologize.
No, that's solid. It's better than my porn interjections.
They've heard our voice enough times. And by they, I don't even know who I'm talking about. Look,
the broader listening
30
audience.
People. Look, there's people. There's people who are listening to. So do you... I think we've voiced our opinions on VR in a past podcast, but in terms of gaming. But I definitely agree that gaming is... Well, there's certainly game developers and publishers are investing the most money in VR as a technology right now. If you look at Sony and the Oculus Rift, but I guess, do you think the sort of, I guess, the budget version of VR is using your phone in the little cardboard slit, right, and just putting on your, and you can sometimes you just have to hold it. Do you think that those are? I've never used VR at all, so I don't know at all. Do you think those are a good representation of what the technology can show? Do you think your phone can do it all, or not at all?
I mean, kind of like I was saying before, it all depends on the use case, especially with gaming. Like, if you could find an interaction or experience that works well on that platform, that's great. But I think the cheaper version of VR is augmented reality, or AR, and I don't think there's any better example than Pokemon Go. It was a phenomenon when it came out, and you saw the thousands, if not millions, of people that jumped onto that, and that was just a proof of concept to say, hey, this is a technology that's here to stay. And I cannot wait until we have a Pokemon Go-like experience for VR that pushes it in the same way that you had the original Halo Combat Evolved that pushed the original Xbox, or like Spyro the Dragon that pushed, or other games that pushed the original PlayStation, or different things like that. So I'm still waiting for what that will be to push it. And in terms of if it would do it justice, I have to say it really doesn't, and it's not the same, because there is always a suspension of belief that's required for VR to work, and I don't think that the lower spec devices like Google Dream or using like Google Cardboard, it really doesn't do it justice. And I think Oculus has done a great job of showing it, and I think if you really want the premier experience, the HTC Vive is bar down the best virtual reality experience you could possibly have. And I would recommend, Julian, if you haven't done it, just try it once and you will become an evangelist too. It's crazy how much you can do with that. It really is.
I agree. I really need to just do it this weekend. That's just the answer.
Go into a Best Buy. You could schedule like an appointment and have somebody show you, give you the rope on Oculus Rift or something like that.
Okay.
You could do that.
I really want to play Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Oh yeah. That's it. I've seen reviews on that, and that seems pretty hysterical.
The gameplay looks awesome. I also want to fight the impossible situation, the Kobayashi Maru or whatever it is. So in general, then coming back to the point where we were talking about applications of gaming, there would naturally be differences in which games are preferred in which experience, right? So we have couch gaming or relaxed mode. We have intense FPSs or RTSs that require this space. So if you had the choice, is it based on whatever or like whatever the best playstyle is, or are you going to hop back and forth? Like if you have PUBG on your Xbox, PUBG on your PC, if it's the same game, is it still a different experience?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it, not to cop out with the use case, but like for example, one of my good friends doesn't really play a lot of games, and he just moved to Minnesota, so he just got PUBG on the Xbox. So I got PUBG on the Xbox just because he's not a PC gamer. So me and a bunch of other buddies got together and got PUBG for a second time, despite the fact we already have it on PC, just to include him in that experience. And I know a lot of people have their ecosystems on the PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, and that's where they tend to sit, and they have long routes of like either, you know, your platinums or your gamer score or whatever. It depends on use case, but like personally for me, I enjoy being able to customize things, and you don't have that freedom on consoles the way you do have it on PC, where if I want to, I could use a keyboard if I'm playing Skyrim, but at the same time, I could get a micro USB and plug in my Xbox One controller and just use that as well. It all depends, and it's whatever you want. And there's so much more flexibility and customization with the PC that you can get that console-like experience if you want to, but at the same time, you can get something completely different. It's kind of like how people would describe the difference between going to a large college or a small college. And for me, going to a larger college, it's much easier to make a large college experience small than it is to make a small college experience large, right? So having that flexibility with the PC is ultimately what drew me to it, and that I can use it for so many different applications rather than just gaming or just watching Netflix.
Spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Just spreadsheets.
Fucking nerds
That's
doing our taxes, right?
Fucking nerds. I have to do my taxes soon.
Yeah.
Speaking of which. But I think Xbox is... you were just saying you wanted to switch between keyboard and controller. I think you can use a keyboard and mouse on the Xbox. I think they're I think in limited situations, obviously not every game, but I think in some games you can.
Yeah, and again,
just to throw
that's just
out.
one specific use case. But like another reason I love PC gaming is like we were talking about the lunar sale and the fact that one thing that I do to game the system, which would highly recommend to people if you want to do it, is when I play PUBG and a new crate is dropped, I save up all of my my PUBG coins or whatever. I buy the crates and then I sell them on the Steam Marketplace. And at a time, I was able to sell one crate for about $6, and I sold about 8 of them.
What?
So then I had enough money there to buy games, and I wasn't actually spending any money, which is kind of cool. And also, games are cheaper.
I did not know you could do this.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know that either.
So and that was the same with Counter-Strike. I used to do it was called
skins,
it was
right?
called CS:GO Lounge, and I used to follow the MLG circuits and bet on games that I knew and people that I knew in the circuits, and I was able to make money off of that, and then sell those skins, and then use those skins to buy games. And one of my friends gave me a karambit knife that was about $300-ish. So I sold that, and then I didn't pay for games for about a year and a half.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
Solid.
I mean, all depends on use case. And like honest to God, only reason I got the Xbox One, I'm a huge hockey fan. NHL and the NHL games that EA makes only on console. I spent $500 just to play that game, just because I love hockey, right? I'm an idiot, but hey,
I spent $400 to play Halo, so
yeah,
that's why I have the Xbox One. God damn it.
Hey, the things we do for the games we love, right?
I really like Halo.
Yeah.
Master Chief Collection is good. I don't care what they say. It's fun.
It is fun.
As long as it doesn't crash.
Oh my god.
So I got to put it on the lower end graphics, get that nostalgia trip, playing Blood Gulch in the OG graphics. Just
Why are we even here?
Why are we even here? When they bring Halo 6 out in 2035, I hope to play it on PC. That's all I want.
Hey, there's a possibility with the Games Pass thing now and the universal platform for Windows 10.
Get it for $10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I no, it'll definitely be. I'm guessing it'll be on PC and Xbox One at the same time, and also for $10 a month. I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
You could technically play Halo games on the PC, but you have to do a really ass backwards port and do some shady stuff. But I've played it.
I've played. I know Halo 2 was on Windows as well, but
I know some Russian websites you could contact.
I would not recommend that. I do not like Trojan viruses.
This is true. I don't know a single person that does. Well, I guess
it's another one of the undeveloped Geico commercials of things that people love that are actually bad.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, are you looking forward to any games in the future? Are there any games that we should know about from a developer standpoint, or just in general?
So again, I'm biased because PC gaming is my thing. Now
it's our thing.
Yeah. Well, one game that I'm really excited about, and I'm still deciding if I'm going to bite the bullet and get it for console before it comes to PC, because it will take a long time to get ported to PC because Rockstar, is Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's a good point.
Very excited for that. It took about a year and a half for GTA 5 to finally get to the PC. I couldn't wait that long, so I bought it not only on the 360, but also on the Xbox One, and then for a third time on the PC. So I don't know if I'm going to want to wait.
Did they release that game twice on PC? Because I know it's released on PS3 and then PS4 with the first-person mode. Was it just updated?
It was just updated,
for PC?
yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's good.
That's probably I don't want to say that's the most anticipated game for me, but I would say I don't know. I'm also very jaded because there's a lot of games that I know I want to come out but won't. So for example, I'm a big fan, like I said, of Paradox. One game that was announced in 2012 was Mountain Blade Bannerlord, and it is 2018, and the game is still not out.
Yes.
And they said it would be out for a
Final
beta.
Fantasy 15 came out, so.
Hey, yeah, anything's possible, right? But yeah, so
anything's possible.
So
now.
Mountain Blade is probably my most anticipated game, but that's also with a very big asterisk of saying if it comes out. But I'm trying to think. Not that it's putting me on the spot.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Actually, hold on. I'm gonna
maybe off the top of your head. Go for it.
Do I have my? Let's see. Hold on. I'm gonna open up my Steam. Let's see if I could go to my.
The wish list.
Oh, I can't because I unplugged. Okay. Oh, actually, I could do it on my phone. Hold on. I know this is really bad for podcasting and for
I won't edit
it
out. It's fine.
I want new characters in Overwatch more than I want another game.
Yeah, well, you're getting one soon, right? I'm guessing.
Oh,
Hero
okay.
27.
Okay, so
coming out.
So obviously, I want to get Celeste at some point if it goes on sale. But
Lunar New
2
Year.
games I'm super excited for. I'm probably gonna get Assassin's Creed Origins once their Game of the Year edition comes out with all the DLC, because I don't want to be nickeled and dimed, because whatever. And then from
I
Campos,
got that for free.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
When I built my rig, one of the things I think Intel gave it away.
Intel gave it to you for free.
That's cool. Yeah, so I'm probably going to wait for that. And then, like I was saying earlier, I like doing adventure games with my girlfriend. So one game I'm super excited for is In the Valley of the Gods, Campo Santos's next game that's coming out.
Campo. Yeah, I heard of that.
So I'm really excited for that. I
cool.
love the setting. It's like the 1910s, 1920s, like either during or before World War I, set in Egypt. It's a very interesting idea, and I really kind of loved Firewatch a ton. So it's a walking simulator, but I like the adventure and story of it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that's kind of mundane, I guess, but...
And it's an unexplored time. I think
yeah.
where I'm done with World War II stuff. Let's go back to World War One.
Hey, I mean, there's Battlefield 1. You could do that.
I know. I
Battlefield.
played the crap out of that game. I really loved it. It was really intriguing. I really actually enjoyed that game, partly for the aesthetic of it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I also ended up liking Battlefield games a lot more than I thought I would,
Yeah.
having not played them since 1942.
Oh yeah, Battlefield 1942 was great. That was 360 for me. Oh, that was a good game.
Yeah.
But then also another game that I was really looking forward to, but again, now I'm kind of jaded, was Visceral's Star Wars game. So I'm not looking at my expectations too far out. I'm just gonna take things a day at a time.
Star Wars.
Ever since SWTOR Quarter, like I just it'd be great to have another single player game, and it's tough. It's really tough. So
It's
as
my
a
favorite
developer,
game of all
we
time.
get sad. Yeah, no, it's a good game.
KOTOR. Yeah, it's interesting how quickly Star Wars was like rejuvenated, and then now straight back into the shitter right now. I feel like with EA and
Yeah. Oh, for games, yeah.
with EA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't
mean,
just say for games.
Yeah. Well, some people didn't like Episode 8.
I didn't, but I respected what it was trying to do. I didn't want it to be a rehash of
exactly.
Empire. It didn't need to be that, and it wasn't.
Right.
So it set
so
out what it achieved to be.
The Salt battle wasn't just the Battle of Hoth on Salt?
Okay, I have much larger fish to fry than that.
Can we talk
not
about the
talking about
light
Star
speed
Wars.
jump?
Oh man,
We already talked about this. No, not
We're
It
not-
ruined
don't-
Star Wars canon.
ruining Star Wars. There were so many things in there that ruined Star Wars canon in so many ways. Like, oh, Luke can talk to Yoda this entire time. It was possible. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, oh, you use CGI, but then you decided to go back with the OG animatronic of Yoda. I'm like, there's not any...
That's true. That was a
It
little
didn't
weird.
work.
That was great. Why did they even do that? Okay.
And dead Yoda can
What the hell?
summon fire and lightning from the side of the... What? No, it was interesting.
We don't know what Yoda's force powers are, to be fair, but you can't send a spaceship into light speed through a physical object and expect me not to say, why didn't they just do that to the Death Star any of the times, or Starkiller Base? It's going to ruin the entire Republic, and they can't send a fighter through the little thing.
I don't know. These are
It's,
all
Star
excellent,
Wars.
excellent questions that will never be addressed in the same way we'll never know if Snoke was Pelagius, because he's just fucking dead. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care about that so much. I
I
care
did.
about the things that they actually did.
yeah. And then, whatever. I appreciated that movie for what it did well, and then I'll grill it for other things. But then again, how difficult is it to make a Star Wars movie that every single fan will like? You can't do it. So,
That's true.
kudos
And
to
I
them
still
for
liked
trying.
most of it, so there's that. But I just didn't like any of the plot.
Yeah. Also, I hated Rose's story arc. It was just cringe
Right.
the entire time. I'm like, it could have been, no.
Listen, China needs someone to look up to.
Isn't she Vietnamese?
I don't know.
That's so
The
insensitive
actor's
of you,
Vietnamese.
Ivan. But yeah, it was just not.
Oh,
It
well.
did some things well, other things not so much. But all pales in comparison to EA and what they were doing.
They're bringing back the microtransactions.
Yeah.
so-
Well, rumor
Yeah.
is
Thank
rumor
God.
is they're gonna make it a free-to-play game and then just keep the microtransactions. But that is a rumor.
that might get me to download it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Won't
I
get
don't
me to
know.
download it.
Yeah.
I would
I-
download it.
if it's free.
Hey,
The first
my-
one was pretty good in terms of the gameplay. It wasn't worth the price, but the gameplay was actually solid.
In my mind,
Yeah,
there's
it's
only
fun.
one
It's really
Battlefront 2, and that came out in 2005.
Battlefront 2. Why did they make it called Battlefront 2 again?
know.
I don't. The world may never know.
Yep.
Well, I feel like we've run out of things to talk about because we went on to Star Wars. Unless you guys have anything else to say.
To be fair, we're nerds. We're always on the brink
is
of a
true.
conversation
On Star Wars.
about Star Wars.
That's true.
Yes,
very
it's always
true.
very true.
Oh my god.
Anything in gaming news
well,
you guys want to address?
Well, this
Yeah.
thing about Nintendo broke was so the Nintendo Switch online
right.
service will launch in September.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well get it in there. I gotta look up the story. What do you have?
I
think
link
Kotaku
to
Luke
it?
Plunkett of Kotaku.
Yeah.
Oh, Kotaku.
Yeah. So Nintendo
Okay.
Switch, the console's long-delayed premium monthly subscription service, will finally launch in September 2018. The company just announced the service, originally supposed to launch last year, which we talked about in the last podcast, will cost $20 a year, which will allow users to play Switch games online.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is that all it does, or does it give you anything? Are they talking about virtual console?
They'll
'Cause
also
that's
get
really
classic
what I wanna
games
know.
like Super Mario Bros. 3, Balloon Fight, and Dr. Mario.
Okay.
Yeah, they're probably going to use it
Breaking
for
news.
a platform of virtual console. But for me, being an OG Pokemon fan, the only thing that's going to... I've been waiting to get the Switch, but I'm not going to get it until they have the next Pokemon franchise installment there. That's what's going to sell me on getting a Switch.
Right. It's gonna sell a lot of Switches also.
I have a
Also,
I have a
for
3DS, and I was thinking about getting
nice.
Ultra Sun for my plane flight for GDC, and just odds and ends
Yeah.
of GDC, just a game there. But I'm thinking about waiting and not doing that. But I still have my Game Boy Color that I bring with me everywhere, and I do Pokemon Crystal and Pokemon Blue, just because they're great games.
Did you get Pokemon Sun and Moon at all?
I did not.
Did you get
so
that?
the last,
Okay.
the last I think I played, I haven't played, I think X or Y, White or Black, or Sun and Moon. The last one I really
okay.
played was Ruby, Ruby and
Whoa,
Sapphire. So
okay.
I've been out for a long time, but I just got the Omega Ruby or Omega Sapphire and whatever. So I got that for 3DS, and then I got recently Crystal just came to the 3DS on last week on Friday. So I got that. So I'm thinking the Switch is going to be a good time for me to jump back into the Pokemon universe and really reinvest, because that was such a pivotal part of
That's
my
true.
childhood, and I kind of like the idea
Me too,
of
and
console
my
on the
life.
go. Yeah,
I love Pokemon.
yeah.
Yeah, I currently I'm into competitive Pokemon because I'm a real nerd, like a real big nerd. So I pretty much got Ultra Sun and Moon to get more Pokemon. So eventually, because you can transfer Pokemon through cloud service now. So you can even transfer up from Pokemon Crystal on the 3DS. You could transfer those Pokemon into the new 3DS one if you wanted, which is a pretty cool service. But I'm guessing they're gonna carry that service over to the Switch.
Yeah.
So that's literally why I'm not playing the game. I'm just doing it for the Pokemon, and then I'm gonna transfer it over and beat a lot of 10-year-olds at Pokemon. That's my goal. What?
Do you think it's too meta that the Pokemon storage system in the game is in real life because you can put Pokemon in the cloud?
Yes, that you mean the anime or the?
No, well, like you go to the computer and access all your stored
That is pretty
Pokemon, and
meta.
now you
Super
go
meta?
to your cloud.
What would be super meta is if they
It's
named
so
the
meta.
cloud
Oh my
Bill's PC. That would be the only way that they get any more
my
meta.
God.
But speaking of
I
competitive,
forgot what it's called.
speaking of competitive, here's a deep dive.
Yeah.
My 6th or 7th birthday party was a Pokemon themed party for Pokemon Stadium.
You had a great show.
Pokemon Stadium on N64.
Yes.
And that was, and I
Solid.
had my Pokemon Blue in the adapter, and I'd plug it in and show off my maxed out all my maxed out.
Blastoise, Charizard.
Well, I had Blastoise, didn't like
Mewtwo.
Charizard, had a Mew because my older brother had
Fuck
Mewtwo,
Charizard.
and we were always competing. So that's OG competitive right there. Which I brought my N64
That's
to
awesome.
college, and that was fun to play.
I still don't like Charizard.
Why not?
Charizard's
I think
trash.
that's a punk Pokemon. He doesn't even listen to Ash. What's the point?
It's because Ash didn't have the proper badges to be able to control him. Come on, it's canon.
He never got any
Whereas
of the badges.
Blastoise can
Didn't he
surf.
I'm kidding.
That dude is cool.
Yeah, he is cool. He's a surfer, bro.
Blastoise is so useful.
Oh yeah.
So, Nintendo, $20 a year as opposed to $60 a year for their competitors. Do you think Nintendo is going to offer anything that Sony and Microsoft do, besides apparently these free games? Access to online games.
They have a much better
like
catalog
party systems,
of games that they
messaging
can bring.
systems.
I don't know about messaging, and I don't think anybody really cares about messaging or trophies or anything like that. It's just Nintendo has such a wealth of a catalog that they can literally bury anything PlayStation or Xbox can do because they have all of the greatest games and franchises of all time, I think.
Yeah,
we just talked about Halo and NHL. Whatever.
And
so
NHL.
I'm just saying.
God damn it.
EA Sports has some franchises. You
doesn't.
can't put FIFA not in the category of world's greatest games.
Actually, speaking of NHL, have you guys heard the rumors about Microsoft either trying to acquire Valve, EA, or PUBG Corp?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on
that?
that?
Right, I heard about that. I think that's crazy, but I feel like we might have heard some crazier. I don't know. I don't buy it.
I also don't buy it.
Neither did Microsoft. But I don't know if you heard of but they're.
It makes sense to me in terms of a business move, right? So what you want from EA is EA Origin, the store. You want Valve Steam, but there's no way that Microsoft has more money. Has enough money to buy Steam, right?
But here's the thing.
To buy Valve?
Microsoft has the money to do it, but there is... So
literally.
Anything...
Yeah,
so
probably.
What I would say is anything is probable, or anything is possible, but it is improbable. So it is most probable that they get PUBG Corp. It is improbable that, or almost impossible, that they would get Steam, or Valve, considering that Gabe Newell used to work for Microsoft, was kind of disgruntled, and then went off to form his own company. So I don't think it's likely. Also, Steam is a juggernaut. They're not going to sell out. And I don't think EA is going to be willing to sell it either, because why would they pigeonhole themselves and say, we're only going to sell all of these games to one console when right now they're making a murdering selling annualized franchises on both platforms? They're not going to do that.
To be fair, I think that the people in charge at EA are mostly there to make sure that their investors get returns.
That's true.
So if Microsoft proposes a plan in which the investors get a much greater return than what they're currently getting, then EA sells. You put a lot of money in front of anyone, and it's a decision that can be made. Like taking what's Notch sold Minecraft for billions of dollars, but he still goes on Twitter and passive-aggressive tweets about what they're doing to Minecraft. So he clearly still cares about Minecraft, the game, but he sold it for a bunch of money because that made sense to sell something for a bunch of money. Yeah. So even if you care about whatever the platform or whatever you're trying to develop, eventually somebody can offer a big enough paycheck that it doesn't matter. So yeah. I find it impossible that it would be Steam. I find it very probable that it would be PUBG Corp, especially considering how much Fortnite is pushing into their realm and space and how much they could benefit from having that kind of partnership. But EA seems much more difficult than PUBG, but much less difficult than Valve.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think that Microsoft could offer EA a deal that makes sense to both Microsoft and EA. I don't, because EA, they make Madden, NHL, and all these sports games, and they and even Battlefront. They sell them. There are 75 million PS4s out there right now. Just looking at PlayStation and Xbox only. They also sell their games on PC. Or some of them, anyways. But there are way more PS4s out there, so EA would just be losing all of the... assuming that if Microsoft bought EA, that EA can only publish games on Microsoft consoles and Windows.
I think that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
That might not necessarily be the case, considering
That's
Microsoft
true.
owns Minecraft, and you can play Minecraft on PlayStation, so they might have a window of exclusivity.
It was out... That's true. But it was out before. I don't think that they would do exclusivity, but
Yeah, I'm
it
playing
was
devil's
also
advocate on
Minecraft was
somebody's side.
also out before on PS4 before they acquired Mojang.
Yeah,
As far as I
that's
know,
true, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It came out in 2011 or
I
something.
think the major thing is to acquire another platform that sells games. I think that would be the major incentive to get Valve or EA to get a lock on EA Origin. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, the publishing, but you already have deals that you're making money on for publishing through EA. So the major thing was to get greater market cap on the selling of games platforms themselves, because that's where
Yeah.
you're making money off of the back end.
Especially if Xbox and Microsoft is looking to move to this universal Windows platform and having games work there. I think a lot of people aren't a fan of the Microsoft Store. I know for certainly I am not. So Valve would make sense, but at the same time,
Yeah, it's
like you
kinda
were
shitty.
saying, Ivan, about if you put enough money in front of people, that's usually the case. But then we have the Gabe Newells and the Jeff Bezoses of the world. That it's never about the money. It's about ownership of something. It's about being the leader of a vision, and I just can't envision a future where Gabe Newell would be willing to give that up to Microsoft, especially with his past and especially with how successful Valve is. So it's interesting, and I thought it was absolutely bonkers that those names of companies were even coming up in talks of that, but crazier things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know the exact news story. I thought it was that they were considering it in the past. That's how I read the story. I don't know if it's currently they are considering
it
purchasing
seemed like it was
these
a
companies.
current thing, like they were deliberating to
okay.
see if they were going to do it, and it
Wow,
might have
that's
just been
crazy.
released to
Okay, so-
test the waters to see if anybody was willing to bite, or if anybody was interested. But I don't know how far talks have gone, if at all.
But I think the other thing is that in terms of Microsoft, the Microsoft gaming division is the division that loses money hand over fist compared to anything else. So by buying up a platform that more people sell through, or the publishing company that can sell their games in that way, that can regenerate profit through the gaming division of Microsoft.
Yeah,
Thinking of it more analytically.
yeah, but so they're losing money now, but a lot of people are already forgetting what a success the Xbox 360 was. And if you look at the cyclical nature of the console markets, you saw the original Xbox was a failure, but it was a proof of concept for Xbox Live, and then the 360 was the realization of that dream, in the same way that the Wii U was a failure, but kind of a stepping stone for the realization of the Switch. And in the same way, I think that's exactly what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox Games Pass. They're testing the waters now, but it's not going to come into its own in full force until the next console generation. So kind of setting up these roots now, they're preparing themselves for something that I don't think Sony's prepared for, because they don't have the infrastructure, especially considering last week PSN was down for, I don't know, 2 days, and we already still remember, or a lot of us still remember, the great PSN outage of 2011
Oh my
and
God.
how terrible that was, right? So I don't think Sony has,
Flashbacks.
they don't have the infrastructure to deal with Microsoft in the way that Microsoft plays, and if they're able to push this games as a service in a subscription format the way they're trying to angle it with the Games Pass, we might have a crazy new next generation where Microsoft just trounces everybody. So it'll be interesting to
Fair
follow.
enough.
Yeah, I'm interested. Do you think that they're going to I mean, with the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, do you think they're actually going to release a new next generation, or do you think they're sort of just gonna phase out the standard Xbox One S and then have the Xbox One X be, I guess, the console that you buy, and then slightly better and better and better?
They're
at
definitely
that point?
going to make a next generation, solely because both PlayStation and Sony and Microsoft and Xbox are primarily hardware purveyors, and everything else comes secondary to that,
Right.
at least historically. So there definitely will be a next generation, I believe, just based off of that and the cadence of their releases and all that. So I think, in the next few years, probably by 2020, 2021, we're probably going to see a next generation. It might not be as big as this is the PlayStation 4 compared to the PS3, but it's going to be pushing the graphical power of games and pushing the limit and seeing where they could, make bigger and better games. But there will definitely always be a next generation of consoles, and I don't think that's going to change until they could figure out a way to make consoles a la carte, in the sense that, like, for PC gaming, you could buy your components, and until Xbox is willing to sell components off on the side and say, okay, this is your CPU, this is your GPU in the same sense, there will always be a next generation, I think.
I give you an alternative. At CES, there was a booth that had built a super duper gaming rig, and you could play games on that gaming rig through the cloud.
Yeah.
So, in the future, you could then have a box which is basically just a cloud connector to a super duper rig.
They already have something. They already have something
do it that way.
for that. It's called Steam Link, where you can stream from your computer.
That's true.
To your So I got that for my girlfriend's dad for Christmas. I got him the Steam Link. He loves it. But yeah.
How exactly does that work again? I'm sorry.
So essentially, what you do is it's a you would stream. So you have to have your desktop or PC on, and it streams through Ethernet to a device. So you would hook this up to a TV, and you would be able to play it as if you were actually on your computer. So it works for him because he has a wireless keyboard that he can sit on his couch and play all of his PC games like that without having to move his PC and set it up. So you could literally, and it's not just like within home, you could be at work with your Steam Link and connect it and play a game from your library. There might be there is latency. I wouldn't recommend it for FPS, but if you're playing a strategy game where that's not a huge issue, like you could tolerate anywhere between a 5 ms to 25 ms latency, it's pretty decent.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But this is unconnected, so you would only own the box that transmits to a rig that is built somewhere else, which isn't owned by you. So that would be the difference. Whereas the Steam Link connects to your PC rig, this would be to a rig somewhere else. Yeah, so in the future, you wouldn't have to buy future iterations of the same thing. And if we're going to the games as a service model, then this could be a way to build that all-in-one, box that the Xbox One was trying to be, and in a different way. So now you have your Games Pass, you have cable, etc., your Hulu, Netflix, everything streams through this one box.
Yeah.
And it would be a different way, and then you could compete with the accessories and being able to upgrade small parts of a rig like a PC, but on the console system.
I think that's possible, but in the interim, I don't think it's probable, mainly because streaming seems like almost a throwaway idea where, like, oh yeah, everybody streams, but there's still a very real majority of people in developing countries and in parts of middle America that just don't have the infrastructure in terms of internet to be able to do that. So having that hard medium of gaming is still going to be a very viable and very it's still going to be in the majority. And like looking at some of the metrics that people use still, like using buying games in their physical form still strongly outperforms most like downloadable games, and like certain metrics like Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo don't necessarily include the digital downloads into their metrics of like saying, oh, we sold X million copies, just because it's still not the majority. We could see that as the future, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But I would be super interested in a future like that, because I think that would make gaming much more accessible to people and kind of bring down the barrier of cost to get in. Because like my computer cost at the time $800, and I've slowly iterated to where if I was to sell this now, it'd probably be like $2,500. But that's a huge investment, right? So
yeah,
it'd be cool.
But I would say that what outperformed any single gaming system was mobile, which is all downloadable games.
Yes.
So we still, even though people aren't buying downloadable games for their home, or they are buying them for their mobile. So there is a huge market for the downloadable games.
Oh, yeah.
And that is through, could be a Wi-Fi network or some whatever network if you're trying to connect to something. So It has a lot of capacity. Of course, until we get gigabit into the favela, it's not likely to be the mainstay of everything, but it is a stepping stone in the future that I think that's where we can see where consoles won't need the cycle of iteration that they go through.
Well, actually, when you're talking about CES, one of the really cool things that Razer is introducing is if you have the Razer phone, you could buy an accessory, which is essentially a laptop shell that you put the Razer phone into where the trackpad is for a laptop, and then that just works. So that's like a really cool innovation for that. And also, trust me, for mobile, I know what mobile is like, and having worked in mobile and work in mobile, I know how many people you can reach with games like that. So we have crazy numbers for Injustice 2 of the people that play it and the people that we interact with and talk to on a daily basis. So mobile is huge. Yeah.
I was bringing it up as a point that we could connect on.
Yeah, good call.
So Julian, I think we might be able to wrap this bad boy up because we've been going for close to well over an hour.
Hour and 20 minutes. We did it. Yeah, so thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Great question.
It'll all be linked in the description below, of course, but plug it now.
You can find me on Twitter at ReadyEdgemont. You could also find me on YouTube at Ready's Player One Podcast. I'm also on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. And if you really want to be up to date with everything I'm doing, you can go to my website, which is 606.net, SIX06.net, not just numbers. Yeah. So you can find me there if you are so inclined.
Yeah, that is where you should totally go to keep up with Ready Player One podcast. It's an awesome podcast. I listen to it now. I'm subscribed, so you guys should be too. But we end our podcast every single week in a song, in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener, can send in your music to us, whether you sang a song or played some music on it, maybe even your friend. It's free advertisement for you, and I don't have to come up with a song at the end of the podcast that way. But unless Mike can come up with a song right now on the spot, I'm going to play some music. But I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any suggestions?
So I have a suggestion for a song. I don't know if you could... you probably could use it without getting copyright struck.
Okay.
There is a awesome artist who's on the rise. Her name is Elohim. She has a new single that just came out called Fuck Your Money. Would highly recommend. It's a great song.
Money.
Check it out. Great listen.
Elohim. Fuck Your Money. Mr. Suicide Sheep.
Yes.
Is that?
You could do that, or Elohim Music. That's her specific channel.
Okay.
But check her out.
We will play that for sure. If I get the copyright strike, it won't be in the video portion. Sorry about that.
Link to it description below, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely link it in the description below. Check her out. I will be checking her out after this podcast. Yes, that looks cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we can join your podcast if you need us for any specialist reasons.
Yeah. I might have you guys on soon.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll have to figure out what my schedule looks like, and also what the topic
Sundays.
Is. Yeah. I usually do my recording.
Record Sundays, post Mondays. That's their schedule.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, guys. Catch you guys next week.
See you.
Bye.
I got drugs if you need them. Open air for you to breathe in. I'll share my covers if you wanna sleep. I guess we're both pretty lucky. In a world of disaster, I got more good than I asked for. I'll take this high any day of the week, 'cause I got love instead of money. I got love instead of money. I got love instead. I got love. I got love. I got love. Fuck your money. Stuck stuck on the surface. Let's go back to the basics. There's so much beyond what we see. What I know is not a secret. One day you wake up and realize if you treated your heart, you'd be flying. Wings hold your power, and now you are free. I got love instead of money. I got love instead of money. I got love instead. I got love, love. I got love. I got love. Fucking money. I got love. Fucking money. I got love. Fucking money. This shit is priceless. I figured it out. Together there's nothing to worry about. As long as we're honest, we're both good to go. There's something about me I think you should know. I got love instead of money. I got love instead. I got love, love. I got love. I got love. Fucking money.
You can hit this part with a melody.
Money.